Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 2 of making a Twitch/IRC bot in Python. In this episode we are going to set up the configuration for our Twitch bot. You'll see what I mean in a bit, and we're going to start writing the rest of the code. It's a pretty small project. I guess I could finish it in this one episode, but I might split it out into this one and one more. Depends on how we're doing. All right, let's get started. So in the root directory of your project, create a new, Python file. We're going to name it CFG. Config. Name it config. There might already be a config somewhere in Python. Alright, just name it CFG. That's fine. CFG.py, our Python file. So, comments in Python have a pound sign. So we're going to call this cfg.py. We'll say it contains the configurations for the bot. So this is all sorts of configuration information. Pretty much just constant values that you're going to need throughout the rest of your code. Start with the host. Host equals irc.twitch.tv. Now, if you are making a IRC bot for some other IRC server, you will obviously replace this, the port, which we're getting to, and some other stuff. But we're focusing on twitch.tv for this. So for the host, the IRC URL is irc.twitch.tv. Okay. Next up, port equals 6667. You can see in Python, if you're not familiar with the language, there's no data types that you set for your variables. You just put the name, and there's no semicolons. Also, there's no braces, curly braces. You do indenting for that kind of stuff, which you'll see in a bit. Next, you're going to need to give it a name, your Twitch nickname. So your bot needs to be an actual, account. Now, you're not going to want to use your real Twitch account if you have one. You're going to want to make one specifically for the bot. This is the name that'll show up in the chat. So you're going to create a new account. That's my other Twitch account. We'll name this one making a Twitch bot. Cool. So that's the name that'll actually show up in chats if I was to use this. You make your name whatever you want people to see. Give it some kind of password. Hold on, I don't even know what I typed. Okay. Give it a birthday. I don't know, you can put whatever you want. Doesn't really matter. I guess I'll make it old. An email. I don't even think that's required. It might be. I'm not a robot. That's funny. Oh, I'm not. The account might be, but I'm not. It does need an email. I don't even think it needs to be a real email. Alright, making a Twitch bot is now a real Twitch account. So, that's good. You can log out of it. It doesn't really need to be logged in ever. Well, actually, that might not be true. Because, well, let's go back to our Python program, we'll say nick for nickname equals making a Twitch bot. Next thing we need to do, we need to get something called the OAuth. That is it's like a key that represents your password. It's used for logging into IRC servers. I don't quite remember where to get it from. Give me 1 second to figure that out. Okay, this might be it. Head to twitchtools.com/chat-token. Then click this generate IRC token. It might take me to Twitch. Yep. Enter your credentials, making a Twitch bot. Whoops. Enter your password, hit login. And this should hopefully give me my OAuth. Here it is. So copy this entire chat token. It's a whole bunch of random looking letters and numbers, but it represents your password. So copy that. I am going to disable this account as soon as I finish making this series, so you cannot log in as me using my OAuth, so don't bother trying that. Pass equals the OAuth. Then channel. I'm just going to put my real channel, Limeoats. That's what we're going to be connecting to. You could put whatever Twitch channel you want. And then a rate for messages to come in. This is in messages per second. So this is the speed that the bot will be able to read messages from the chat. That's important. We don't want too many going through or it will cause problems. Then we're also going to create this thing called an op list. For now, it's going to be an empty array. That's how you make empty arrays in Python. We're going to come back to that in a bit, though. We want this to be global-ish because we're going to be using it in a bunch of different places, so that's important. And that's actually the end of config.py. We don't need to ever come back into this file other than to just use these variable names elsewhere. So I'll leave it open. The next thing we're actually going to create is we're going to create Utils.py. So go ahead and do that. Utils.py. So this file is just going to be a bunch of utility functions that we're going to need in the main bot file. A bunch of utility functions. That's good enough. A bunch of utility functions. So we're going to have to import a few files. We're going to have to import our config. This is our file that we just made, cfg.py. So import that. We're going to import URL lib2, which we're going to use down below. And also JSON. Import that. Import time. Import thread. I'm grouping them together like this just because I don't want too many imports all together. It doesn't matter how you do this. You could have 5 import statements if you want. And from time, import sleep. Okay. So the first function we're going to create, our first utility function, is our chat function. So def chat sock message. So what is this function? What are these parameters? Send a chat message to the server. That's what this function does. The parameters that we see above socket over which to send the command, and send the message, I should say, not necessarily a command, and message, the message to send. Okay? And all this function is going to do is going to say sock, which is our socket, dot send. Now there's a format for IRC messages. It's ugly. There's no making sense of it that I know of. It's just what it is. PRIV MSG. I guess that stands for private message. Do that. This is a placeholder for a parameter we're going to pass in a second. Then this, then another more text we're going to pass in, and carriage return line feed for the new line. Dot format, and now we pass in those parameters I was just talking about. The first argument I pass in here will go in here. The second one will go in here. So the first thing we're passing in is cfg.chan, which we just created. That was Limeout in my case. It'll be whichever Twitch channel you're connecting this bot to. And then message, which is what we're sending. And that's it. That's our chat function. I guess I should put this stuff before it. Function chat. All right. The next function we're going to make is actually a ban function. Just nice to have. If your bot is a moderator in the chat you're in, you can use this to ban someone. Function ban, send a chat message. Ban a user from the channel, sorry. Parameters, the socket over which to send a ban command, user to be banned. And for this, all we have to do is use our chat function that we just created, chat. And then the command for banning is .ban, and we're going to pass in user, just like that. And that's it. It's our ban function. It'll be useful. We can also have a timeout function, which I'll create now. Function timeout, timeout a user for a set period of time. Parameters. This will take in socket over which to send the timeout command, the user to be timed out, and a third parameter which is actually seconds. The length of the timeout in seconds. The default will be 600 seconds. So I'll say def timeout, that takes in sock, user, and seconds equals 600. And for this, all we have to do is say chat, sock, dot timeout, format, user, seconds. Alright, and that's it for that. And then we have two more functions to create. We have function thread fill op list. In a separate thread, fill up the op list. Now you're probably wondering, what the heck is the op list? There are no parameters, so I don't have to deal with any of that. In an IRC chat, there are different types of users. There are regular chatters. There are moderators. There's the streamer, or all of that. So go to, well, I'll go to it. You don't need to know. So tmi.twitch.tv/group/user/limeotes/chatters. If I go to that website, what it basically is, it's information about my Twitch channel. The number of people in the channel right now, in the chat. Then it tells me the chatters. So moderators, I'm considered a moderator in my chat. Staff, there's nobody from the Twitch staff in my chat. There are no admins in my chat right now, no global mods. One regular viewer is for some reason in my chat, even though I'm not streaming. So what we need to do is we need to pull back this information. We want to know who's a moderator and who's not. Because we don't want our bot responding to timeout commands and ban commands and all of that from regular users. We want to make sure the person sending this command to our bot is a moderator. So we need to download this information pretty much in real time while the program's running, constantly, to make sure that we have updated data, to make and then figure out, parse it and see who's a moderator, who's a regular viewer, all of that. This is JSON. If you've never seen JSON format before, that's what it looks like. What does this do? Oh, cool. So that's it. So we're going to download that data right now. So let me go back to it. So that's what this function is going to do. It's going to go out to this tmi.twitch.tv website. It's going to pull down the JSON, and then we're going to parse it and store the moderators in a list. So def thread fill op list. So while true, this is going to run the whole time the program's running. So the whole time the bot is alive, pretty much, this function will be running in a separate thread. So we're going to try, fill that in a second, except this is what happens if for some reason it fails. And then we're going to sleep for 5 seconds. So that this isn't happening constantly. After we do it once, we're going to sleep for 5 seconds and then go back up and do it again. So here's what we're doing. URL equals, that URL I just typed into my browser, tmi.twitch.tv/group/user/. Now I'm putting limeotes because that's the channel I'm going to. That's my channel. You put whatever you want. If this isn't a channel you own, or you aren't doing commands like that, then none of this really matters. You don't need to know who's a moderator, who's not. This is just a bot for whatever purpose. You don't need to do any of this, really. But it's nice to have information on who's in the chat. Request req equals URL lib2. That's that library we imported at the top. Dot request URL headers equals accept */*. Okay. Don't need to worry about what that means. This is just going out to the URL, and we're going to now pull down what is on the page. Response equals URL lib2 dot URL open req dot read. This gets the source of the page. If I go to this and I view source, there's nothing here except literally this JSON. So I'm not going to be pulling back anything I don't want. Now sometimes this website goes down or it can't be reached. So when that happens, response actually gets filled up with a bad gateway error. So I'm going to say if response.find 502 bad gateway equals -1. That means it didn't happen. If for some reason it did happen and it couldn't reach this page, it'll just skip everything I'm about to type, wait 5 seconds, and then try again. So no problem there. So now I'm going to clear out the op list. Okay. Because now we're going to fill it back up with stuff. So data equals json.load s response. So now data pretty much parsed the JSON from the page, stored it in some kind of data structure like an array. So now we're going to go through that and pull out the data. So for P in data chatters, so that's this level of the JSON up here, op list P equals mod. Wait. Chatters, moderators. So now we're associating P, which is the person's name, with mod in a dictionary type data structure, which is what op list is. It's like a dictionary. So P now maps to mod. So now we know that anybody in this mod part of the dictionary, their name, they are mod. We're going to do the same with the other important types. So similarly for P in data chatters global mods, op list at P equals global mod. That should be a lowercase p. For P in data chatters admin, op list P equals admin. And then finally for P in data chatters staff, and that's it. So when we're going to run this in a thread, it's going to happen every 5 seconds. It's going to go through here. If it can reach the page, it's going to clear out the op list. And then it's going to download the JSON from the page and fill in op list again with current data. Okay. So that's actually it for our, oh, actually, that's not it. We need to be able to access, we want to know if we want to pass a function a user and find out if it's one of these important people. Because if it is, then we're going to let it run the bot command. So I'm going to say def is op, passing in a user, and return user in cfg.oplist. So if the user is in this op list, meaning it's he or she is a mod, a global mod, an admin, or a staff member, this will return true because they are an op. Otherwise, it will return false because they are a regular old user. All right, so I'm actually going to end this episode here because that's a good place to stop. And then in the next episode, we're going to finish this up we're going to use all of these fancy functions. We're going to connect to the Twitch server, and you're actually going to be able to see, we're going to make a new command for time, a new command for messages, all sorts of stuff. And you're going to finally see, when I run it, we should be able to connect to my Twitch channel, my chat. So just to go over this, my Twitter is here, Limeout. Discord, go here, it's in the description as well. What did I just do? Okay. Go there to chat with me about this and whatever else. My website, limeouts.com, check that out. GitHub, this code will be there. Patreon, you can support me, my projects that I'm working on. Please do check that out. And my subreddit, which I forgot to mention in the last episode. Go there, subscribe to it. I post video links, all of that there. So thank you for watching, and I will get started on the next video now.